Hello, everyone. I'm Johnny Depp. I'm an actor, musician, screenwriter, and producer. You've all seen me in Tim Burton's films such as Edward Scissorhands, Sleepy Hollow, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, and Alice in Wonderland. You also know me as Captain Jack Sparrow in the series of popular films Pirates of the Caribbean. But today, I want to tell you about something else, about my personal fears and phobias. Many people struggle and live with them through all their life, and I'm one of them too. So let's talk about my fears. The first thing about me is that I'm terrified of clowns. Well, you might say that I could have chosen something more exciting. Everybody's afraid of clowns, right? Especially since we all watched the movie It. However, I have had this fear since my childhood, and God knows what triggered it. I think this is just my habit that I often see evil and sinister things behind a thick layer of clown makeup. I still have it, by the way, and I still believe that my fears are not just my pure fantasies. Journalists often ask me this question: why are you so afraid of clowns? And I usually answer that you can never tell whether they are laughing and having fun or whether they want to attack you and bite your face. I'm so afraid of clowns that when I see a clown with a big red wig, I begin to tremble with horror. And I can tell you that many screenwriters and directors have this phobia as well, and they like to tell stories about a clown who turned him into a monster, like in a popular movie Chucky. So I have always been afraid of clowns since my childhood, and I often had my worst nightmares about monster clowns. In my dreams, these terrible creatures would catch me and lure me into their evil lair, meanwhile playing all their jokes with funny grimaces at me. And then they finally got me. They would put me in a cage with their other victims. Then they would look at us and pick us up one by one. And then they would gnaw at me and look at me with a malicious grin. And at the most scary moment, they would grab me and drag me out of the cage by my legs. And at that moment, I would wake up. Throughout my childhood, I had a lot of nightmares, and they all came in different interpretations. But in the end, it was all the same. They all wanted to attack and scare me to death. I truly believe that clowns are real monsters. They only pretend they want to entertain the kids, but in fact, they're just waiting for the right moment to drag the kid into a dark dungeon and torture him. I can't stand clowns, their painted faces, fake smiles. Under their painted masks, I always imagine an evil darkness and a black abyss that is hunting for your soul to enslave you forever. I really hate these painted freaks. They're repulsive and terrible. We never invited a clown to our home during our family holidays. Once our neighbors invited me to their son's birthday, and they didn't tell us that they invited a clown. It was a lot of fun for all of the guests, but not for me. I did all I could to hide and run away from the clown, and it was such a stress for me. The clown, a smiling and cheerful freak, thought that I was just playing a game with them, so he was chasing me all the time, and our emotional game made the other kids laugh and enjoy it. The kids' parents thought that I was just enjoying the fun, but I was half dead with horror and disgust. Red wigs, bright makeup, all these things really scared the hell out of me. And later on, when I grew up, I played the role of the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland movie. It was a real challenge for me, as my hero was very similar to all these maniac clowns from popular horror films. In fact, I agreed to this role because I wanted to face my inner demons disguised as clowns and finally conquer my inner obsessions and get away with it. Also, my great friend Tim Burton, who was the director of the film, told me that no one could play this role better than I did. My second big phobia is bugs. I have a very uncomfortable and sensitive relationship with beetles. It's not I'm scared of them, I just don't like them, especially cockroaches. Once I even had a very strange story that was about cockroaches that happened to me. It happened in 1994. That day I smashed all the furniture in my New York hotel room. That day I was arrested, taken to the police station, put to jail, and then released when I paid the fine and wrote a check for $10,000 to the hotel to cover the damage. On that day, all of the newspapers wrote that I was drunk and on drugs and intoxicated and I had a quarrel with Kate Moss, who was my girlfriend back then. But the true thing is, Kate Moss had nothing to do with it. Yes, we were going through a complicated moment in our relationship, but this was not her fault. The real issue was that I had a problem with my emotions and I had my bad phobia ruining me from inside. In fact, and I hate telling you about this, I just saw a cockroach in my room. A huge cockroach. You have no idea how big it was. He wiggled its huge mustache and ran on the parquet floor. At the moment, I felt I must kill him. Otherwise, I will just keep on hating him. In my imagination, I saw him growing up and becoming a monster. He would jump and attack me and crawl into my ear and ruin my brain. I had all these terrible pictures in my brain, and in the background, I heard these quiet sounds of him running on the floor. It was unbearable. At first, I decided to run after him and chase him, but the little bastard was too fast, and it got away from me all the time. So I decided to try a new tactic. I would throw my slippers at him, and since I had only two of them, I went to the hotel reception and asked for a whole box full of slippers. The hotel reception desk manager looked at me with suspicion. He suspected something was wrong, but he gave me what I asked for. So I went and took the new slippers and I went back to my room and I started throwing them at the cockroach. After that, when I ran out of slippers, I began to throw everything that came on handy to hit the cockroach. First, I would throw porcelain vases and table lamps. Then I would continue with paintings and candlesticks. At the end, I would throw chairs and a TV set. The TV set smashed the window with a big crush, and it flew out into the street. I heard a big bang right under my window, and then the police arrived and they detained me. Journalists jump at this story and they wrote so many lies about me, so I think I better tell a real story myself now. Nobody knows it better than I do. Unfortunately, nobody would believe in my battle with the monster cockroach story. So at the end, I just paid for all the damage I caused to have the story come to an end and forgotten. And by the way, I think the cockroach had a really tough time too, as he had a lot of stress from all of my violent attacks on him. So as you can see, my two big phobias are clowns and all kinds of beetles. I always thought about how to overcome this fear and disgust. And as an option, I started to collect small figurines of all kinds of monsters. So I made it my hobby to overcome my fears. Time went by and I surrounded myself with posters, drawings, and toys of clowns crying, burning on fire, falling apart, or having syringes and huge pins in their heads. And I also started collecting wigs, fake beards from different circuses and artists. When I look at all these things, I feel better and my stress goes away. A funny fact is that once I bought several pictures of the famous serial killer John Wayne Gacy, who went down in history as a killer clown. I decided to get these ones as well in a hope that in the long run it will help me to overcome my fears and phobias. Well, and the most funny thing is that even though I hate clowns, I'm a clown myself. And I play clowns in my movies, so my life played a big trick with me on that. As for my bug phobia, I followed just the same logic. I started collecting them. I keep a lot of dried insects in glass boxes in my house. Most of them are cockroaches. When I look at them, I try to persuade myself that they're not that dangerous and that terrifying. Well, sometimes it works, and sometimes it does not. Sometimes I really cross my boundaries. Once, when I was working on a Lone Ranger movie, I decided to get a scorpion in my mouth. It did not want to get inside my mouth, and we had quite a fight. And let me tell you, when you try to fight with a scorpion, it's hard to win. At some point, it just broke free and ran away. I cannot tell you why I did this. I guess it was just my phobia thing, and I had a real problem with that scorpion. I just forgot that scorpions are quite dangerous and poisonous, and I could run into a serious problem then. So time went by, and I continued my collecting efforts. At some point of time, I started collecting Barbie dolls and stuffed animals. I'm not afraid of them though. I just enjoy this feeling when you're looking for some amazing things and you finally get them to your home. I have quite an extensive collection by now, and I have it all over my house. Besides clowns, beetles, and stuffed animals, I also collect skeletons. I bring them from all over the world and keep them at my home too. So as you can see, I have quite a lot of skeletons in my closet. So what's wrong with the skeletons, you would ask? Well, I do not know. The only memory from my childhood that I remember is that I didn't like the skeleton in our school biology class. After I starred in several mystery films like Sleepy Hollow and The Ninth Gate, I decided to further expand my hobbies and collect images of ghosts and demons. I'm not afraid of them though. They're also hard to chase as they live in our imagination rather than in the real world. I have never seen a ghost in my life, but I still believe they exist. And I honestly think that if you are afraid of something, go and meet your fears up front. Did you like my story? What phobias and fears do you have? Write your answers in the comments, subscribe to the channel, give your likes, and see you soon.